All right, so there we
Uh,
go. So, ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome Crystal Hampton to Diaspora Parenting Hub. Thank you for joining us today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm so excited to be here. So excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me. When I saw that you were inviting me, I was just so excited. I love to talk about speech and language, and just how we can help our kids,
Mhm.
the adults in our lives, all of it. Just being able to help them like communicate their wants and needs. And then on my, I say that's my Monday through Friday life, and then my weekend life, I love being able to help people with different abilities be able to grow their relationship with Christ, because in our field we always want to, or we're always um helping kids develop relationships with their friends, their siblings, their parents, their
Mhm.
teachers, random people in the store, but like we never talk about their relationship with Jesus Christ. So that's what I like
Mhm.
to do on weekends. So yes.
And
Okay.
thank you for doing it. Thank you for doing it. So,
Yes.
I guess that's given us a brief introduction of yourself and what it is
Mhm.
that you're doing, you're passionate about. Okay,
Yes.
so and I know, and I think Dama was talking about and alluding to that briefly, this COVID thing, but there just seems to be an increase in the number of kids that you see these days with speech delay or some sort of disorder, right?
Mhm,
What
mhm.
would you say, in your opinion, what do you think is the cause of that? Is that cause or is it just coincidental? Like, what's your thought on that?
So I think it's a number of things. The first thing is I think that people, parents, doctors, teachers, are all more aware of like the what kids should be doing at a certain age, and what milestones they should be reaching. So I don't, on one hand, okay, I have two opinions about this. On one hand, I think it's just people becoming more aware, and they're starting to pay more attention to it. Like I'll have doctors send over a referral, and like it's because the doctor was like, I mean, they might have a speech delay, but just go ahead and go over and get them evaluated. I mean, the worst thing is that they won't have a speech delay, and
Mm-hmm.
you know
Mm-hmm.
um but also, kind of what you said, the c word, COVID. I remember when it was like deep during COVID, like July 2020, and parents were coming to me and they're like, hey, she was talking, then when COVID hit, she stopped talking. And I was like, well, we have to think of what happened during COVID. Like, COVID
Mm-hmm.
was traumatic. It was pretty traumatic. You went from saying and talking to everyone to literally being afraid of people, like
Mm-hmm.
afraid to talk to people, um all that stuff. So what I would tell parents back then, and I was like, okay, so that these kids, they're not hearing nearly as many people talk. The only people they're interacting with is their parents and their siblings, and God forbid one of them got COVID, and they would be stuck in a room, and so that would be like like they might be the one that's isolated in their room the entire time, and the only person that's talking to them is like whatever's on the TV. And then we had parents, I don't know about y'all, but like a lot of people had to go work from home. I never got to work from home, but a lot of people had to go work from home. And it was like everybody was kind of in this survival fight or flight mode. And I'll never forget, this dad came in to get an evaluation, and he was like, listen, I just needed to work. So I would have her in front of the iPad for 8 hours. Like, he was like, I needed to
Yeah.
get my work day done. And I was like, I had to be like, I mean, I honestly don't know what I would have done if I had like a 2-year-old at home and I
Job.
still
Mm-hmm.
needed to get this job done. Like, I probably
Mm-hmm.
would have put an iPad in front of him too, just to get work done. Um, and like she wasn't talking at all. But to kind of go back to your myth question, she also had like she was two, y'all, 2 years old, and she had been in the hospital for an upper respiratory infection, RSV, 3 different times. She had
Wow.
had she had had a number of ear infections, and I had to discontinue the evaluation because I was like, "Sir, I don't know what she can hear. Like, I genuinely don't know what she can hear." And then her mom passed away a couple years ago, so God rest her soul. But her mom um got her into a different pediatrician, and they
Mm.
checked her hearing, and she was only hearing at 40%. And so, yeah,
Oh.
she was only hearing at 40%. So, like, she was literally only saying what she could hear, which was not much. And so, after she got the ear tubes in and got that fixed, she started talking. And
Mm.
so that's a big thing. But again, I truly think it's that people are starting to be more aware and more conscious of the developmental milestones. Also, more people are I think it's a little bit of social media too. Like, quite a bit of people are talking about how their kids um might have certain delays, which is really cool because it's normalizing the conversation, right? It's
Mhm.
taking away the stigma. But then, like, if I see, like, okay, she said that her child did this and now her child is in speech therapy, so maybe I should go get my child speech therapy, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think, again, I think it's that awareness piece that's making people that's causing a rise of speech and language delays.
Yeah. I don't know what they say about this psychology of, say you just recently thought of, or you just got a car, right? Suddenly you start seeing
Every car,
everybody
yes,
every car.
yes.
So it might be, I mean, again, like what you're saying, it might be that. So to piggyback on one of the things that you talked about with the hear evaluations and testing to make sure that the kid can actually hear. I know that I met a kid also years ago, and the parent was thinking all of these things. And it was also the fact the kid couldn't hear. So
Mm-hmm.
he was throwing tantrums and doing what you would do if you walked into a building and everybody's talking and you can't hear them and they're looking at you and you think they're talking about you, So I told the
Right.
mom, there might not be anything. It might just be that. And when they got that fixed too, there was an improvement in all of that. So if there's a
Mm-hmm.
parent here wondering, I think a good step would probably be first to get hearing evaluated if you haven't already done that.
Yes. That's one of the first questions I ask is, when was their last hearing screening? Did they pass it? Did they fail it? If they did fail it, what was the intervention? Or was it ear tubes? Was it um why am I hearing aids? Like, what was that next step? So yeah, that's my first question.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I was gonna ask, how can you differentiate between a normal developmental variation and maybe a potential speech or language disorder? So you don't
Mhm.
know for a fact as a parent. How would you tell that, oh, this is normal, he'll be fine, or no,
Mhm.
this is a problem I need to work on?
So what I would say is, I tell this to moms who come up to me and they're like, "I'm worried about my kid." I'm like, "Okay, if you're worried about your kid, go get them tested." Because, like, I could do a quick little screening, but like the full evaluation will really let you know where your child is. And like I told my best friend, I was like, if it will give you peace of mind, go get an evaluation. Also, you have to think about, like, we're in a different age right now, okay? And so I'll be evaluating a kid and a parent will come and be like, "Oh, well, my brother or my sister did that all the time, she just grew out of it." And I'm like, "But how long did it take for them to grow out of it?" "Oh, until they're
Mm.
like 12 or 13." I'm like, that's not necessary. Let's get them help faster. So I would say, kind of always lean on the side of just getting more professional opinions about it, just so you can truly know it's not a thing. Now, here in the states, we have, and I'm sure where y'all are as well, there's different, like, variations of how you say sounds, so like different dialects of how you say
Mm.
things. And so here in Texas, like, I'll have to tell other speech therapists, like, hey, that's a dialectal difference. That is not a language disorder. Like, do not
Mm.
put that kid in speech therapy just because they're saying like different sounds. I'm like, because at that point, you got to put like a whole culture in speech therapy, which is not necessary. Like, that is normal for their culture. So like we don't put kids in speech therapy because the way they're speaking the way that their culture presents, you know. But I will say there's sometimes when like a kid will come in and they're having a speech delay, and then like the parent will come in and the parent sounds just like the kid, and I'm like, uh-oh, like that's
Oh.
what's going on here. That's what's going on here. So and I made a mistake of that one time because the kid had like something going on with the quality of his voice, and it was super nasal. And his dad comes in and I kind of just started talking, and I was like, yeah, maybe go see like an ear, nose, and throat doctor, because it just sounds like the air is going like through his nose when it's
Mm.
not supposed to go through his nose. So he's sounding really nasally. His dad starts talking, and his dad sounds the exact same way.
Exact.
The exact same way. And I was like, uh-oh, well, hmm. But
Beep.
my bad. Didn't mean to. But yeah, but he still went and got the child help, which was really cool, because he was like,
Mm.
he just sounds like me, but like if I can get my child help in the ways that I didn't get help, then
Mm-hmm.
that's cool. He wasn't like that, oh, we all sound like that type of thing,
Which is
So
good.
yeah.
Which is good. Which is good.
Mhm.
Which is good. Again, we're chatting, and if you have any questions, please put in the chat. But we keep talking. But I wanted everybody to know it's not just the two of us. You could always chime in. So I want to ask about autism and speech, right?
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
how do you think that the autism spectrum disorder affects speech and language development?
So like you said, it's a spectrum. So like sometimes I'll have kids where it doesn't affect their speech and language at all. um like they're able to communicate all wants and needs. They're able to like they have like pragmatic skills. They have like their social skills are good. It's just like it might affect like their feeding or their behavior, stuff like that. But then also it could be kids that they have they're nonverbal. They still communicate. It's just not with
Mm,
words. And so with that, like we might put in place like a speaking generated device. So like if you've ever seen like the iPads that will talk for the kids, they might use that, or they might have like a picture symbol system. So like they'll show you like, I need to go to the bathroom, or I'm mad, I'm happy, stuff like that. But it is a spectrum. So it could be, or like you could have a kid that starts out only speaking on the speaking generated device, and then they move to being able to
mm,
speak with words. Um so it's a wide variety. Like even my kids that I see now, like I have like 3 kids with autism that are working on answering like WH questions. They're working on like telling a story and inferencing. But then I also have another kid in that same class with autism, and he's working on being able to like identify objects in play and objects in pictures. And so like we're kind of at the beginning part of that communication piece. So it all depends on the child and like where they are.
okay, I'm going to. Well, I'm hoping the person will remind me of what the details of the question, the details, specific details are. But the communication device you talked about, how early, or because I know people are skeptical sometimes about just jumping straight to, and
Yeah.
sometimes like a crutch for specialists. Oh, just get him on that or get her on that.
Mhm, mhm,
Our parents are thinking, but have we exhausted all options? And would there be a dependency if I start them on this device? Would it, what's your thought on that?
So I love using speaking generated devices. I personally like to make sure the child can identify objects and pictures first before we go to that, because I really want them to know the relationship of what that picture is on the iPad and what they're asking for. Like, do I know when I point to Apple, I'm going to get an apple? You know, do I know when I hit like I want mm, I want chocolate, I'm going to get chocolate, you know? I want them to know that like I want them to know like the background information on that.
Mm,
Because like if you put that in front of a child that can't like identify objects yet, they're gonna be like, what is this? Oh, is this another game to play? You know, they're not gonna realize like the like the importance of the communication piece. Now, the question of if it will become a crutch for the kid. So the kids that I have used it on, I've had two kids that have used it um who started talking and
mm,
started like verbally talking. And the cool thing about it is like it's like this bombardment to the kid, right? So every time they hit the word, they're hearing it. And so the more a child hears the words, the more they're being exposed to it, and the more a child is exposed to like those words, the more likely it is that they'll talk. But sometimes they might not talk. But the cool thing about that is they're able to communicate their wants and needs, and they're able to have that part of life where they can have a conversation with people, which is really cool. Because like you can get some really high tech speaking generated devices, and like the person is literally, it's like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Like you can do like an eye gaze one where you move your eyes to it, and it's really quick. You can put it, they can put it on their cell phones. And like we're moving into a more technology dependent
really. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
society. So I mean, it's going to start looking, the stigma is going to start being more and more removed from it. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that. So, what would you say are some common? So, a parent has a, maybe a 2-year old or 3-year old. What are some common signs or early signs that a parent could tag on to say, "Oof, once you, oh, like you'd say, if you see this or notice this, this has
Mhm.
something, this is the sign that maybe there's something to worry about."
Yes. So I can pull up some, I'm going to put this in the chat
Okay. Thank you.
first so that you all can reference it later. But it's milestones from birth to 5 years old. And so it's communication milestones, but it's also feeding milestones too. So if you have worries about your child's eating habits, that's also on there. But what I always like to go back to is like, so we'll pull up the 3-year-old one. Let's pull up the 3-year-old one. We're gonna do this one. All right, can y'all see that?
Yes.
Okay, so on these sheets on here, it shows it literally breaks it down like what should my child be able to do? Compare things with words like bigger or shorter, tell you a story from a book or video, understands uh understands and uses more location words like inside, on, under, uses words like a, the, but it'll tell you like what you can expect your kid to do at that age. But what's also cool about this is it will tell you some things that you can do for your child
Mm,
to help them be able to reach these milestones. And so but again, like if your child isn't doing these like these from like a website like ASHA, that's our governing board, um, that's when I would go and ask a pediatrician, like, hey, can you give me a referral for a speech therapist? And a lot of times, now y'all correct me on this because I've never been to like a wellness child. I don't have any kids, but like, does the doctor ask you about your kids' milestones when you're visiting, like for a wellness checkup or anything like that?
Yeah, I think so. My youngest is 12, so I'm trying to
Remember back?
go back in time and think. But those that are younger moms, maybe you could. Okay, someone said yes. Okay.
Okay, okay. And so that's a good start. But I would also like uh I would also like caution you, like you know, if you're feeling like your child is, if you're doing like your research from good resources, y'all, don't just go out
Hmm,
to, like, there are some good people on
Instagram.
TikTok and like Instagram, stuff like that. There are people that are good, but I think it's just best to go back to sources like the one I gave you, because that's literally speech therapists putting together a list of what your child should be doing. They've done the research on it. And yeah, so that's a pretty good list of what your kids should be doing. And then again, um like I said, it breaks it down in age, into age categories.
Okay. Those people who are just joining, I put that in chat again just in case it wasn't there. And if you
Mhm.
have any questions, go ahead and put your questions in the chat. And again, I'm going to tag off the fact that it's important to seek help from professionals, right? As much as we might talk, and that's why I try to bring professionals. I don't know all. I'm not going to assume. I'll tell you that I know. Even if I work in some specifics, right? I can say, generalize and say I can speak to this. I can't. And always
Mhm.
seek help
Mhm.
from professionals, people who know their craft and who walk the journey. They're also familiar with people that maybe have seen similar, have been in similar situations. So that's important. All right. So what types of therapy do they provide? I know there are different disorders that you might have. My younger son had speech delay, and now I forget what exactly it was. Was it there's don't let me mess it up, but yeah. So it had to do with, I know they have different disorders, but it was one in it's like 8 years ago. My brain done, because he got therapy and then he was able to get better. So it doesn't need to
Okay.
be therapy at this point, right?
Uh-huh.
But what are some therapies that exist, like different forms, and which one would you say, in your opinion, would be best or better?
Hmm. So you're about to get me in trouble. So it all depends on what your child's diagnosis is, okay, and what
Mm-hmm.
your child's needs are. Okay, if your child has communication issue, hear me when I say this. I'm only speaking from a speech therapist, as a speech therapist, okay? Because I've seen like people try to dabble into other areas. Like, yeah, okay, I'm a speech therapist, right? You will never see me trying to teach a kid how to write. Like, I don't do that. That's not what I do. And I don't hold a pencil correctly myself, apparently. They told me that. And I'm like, well, I'm 34 years old, so I'm not about to change it.
I'm
And I've
fine.
made it this far in life. It's okay. But like, you will never see me trying to teach a kid how to write. You just won't. And so you, just be careful, okay? Because when your child has a communication disorder or a feeding disorder, you need them to be with a speech therapist. And I'm going to tell you why. Because we have gone to school for that, for literally that right there. Okay, we spent 6 years learning about how, like, all the differences of like language versus speech, all that type of stuff. When a child is supposed to develop these milestones, when a child is supposed to develop these sounds. So like that's why you want to go to a professional in that area. Okay. Now, if your child is having like fine motor deficits, maybe their feeding is like, oh, she only wants to eat like warm foods, she only wants to eat soft foods, that's more like sensory. Then you would do OT, but then the OT and the speech therapist still might work together, because the speech therapist is working on like strengthening those muscles, okay,
Mm.
in the mouth. And so And then if there's like a behavior, or we'll go to the other one. So like if a child is like having difficulties walking or like having difficulties like sitting up, like their bigger movements, that's when you would take them to physical therapy again, because they go to school for that. Now, if a child is having like difficulties with behaviors, like big explosive behaviors, that's when or any type of behaviors, that's when the ABA therapies will step in. And let me tell y'all something. I love ABA because I used to tell them, I was like, hey, y'all make it to where I can do my job. And one of them was like, what do you mean? I was like, you make it to where my child can like pay attention, like
Sit
in the
through it. Mhm.
session. So like they're like giving me these tips, like, hey, if you give them like uh if you do like a first in type thing, or like you say like we're gonna do a visual schedule, like he'll be able to do what you need him to do. I was like, yo, I need that. Like I need that. And so that's where they come in. That's really good, because like I had a kid literally improve in 1 year. He improved 18 months. 18 months.
Wow.
And I really believe it's because me, I was his outside speech therapist, his school speech therapist, his occupational therapy, and his BCBA, so the ABA therapist. We were all on one page, like literally all on one page. We were all really good friends too, but like we were all on one page. It's like I knew what he was working on in ABA, I knew what he was working on in OT, and it's like when we're all on one page and working together, like the child benefits the most, like
Mm.
literally. And he still sends me happy birthday every year on my birthday. I haven't
Oh,
worked with him in like 5 years, and he'll still send me a happy birthday text. Sweetest little boy. But yeah, so like if you ever have like a speech therapist coming in being like, oh, okay, we're gonna work on his fine motor skills, be like, what
focus.
what like, okay, so what training? I mean, like maybe they do have training, maybe they learned something, but like a speech therapist shouldn't like solely be working on like your child's grip, okay? Or like an occupational therapist, I mean, like they might be like, oh, we I reminded him to use his pincer grasp, while he was working. Like that's cool to be able to like use those cues to help the kid, but like I'm not going to be literally teaching a kid how to. I'm
Uh-huh.
not doing that. Like I don't know how to do it. Like it's out of my scope. It's out of my scope. And like, so you just really want to know what the what uh your therapist who's working with your kid, you want to know like what their like professional is, their profession is, so that like you're not having a BCBA come in and be like, oh, we're going to work on swallowing. What? No, that's dangerous. That's dangerous because like, first of all, okay, see, I'm getting in trouble. So like that you just really don't, that's dangerous. It's dangerous if I like go into someone else's field claiming I can do something. That is dangerous. So yeah, just know what the different types of therapies and what they offer. And then like you might have therapists who have been trained in like certain things, and they'll let you know like, hey, I'm such and such certified. So like I'm certified in like vital stim. Okay, so like I can put electrodes on your throat and on your cheek to help strengthen those muscles to help you swallow better. Now, even if a speech therapist is not trained in that, they should not be doing it, because
Yeah.
again, it's dangerous. Like you're literally like they're electrodes. They're electrodes. Like you got to know where to put this stuff on people so that they won't get hurt. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the takeaway from that is that means as a parent you're knowledgeable to some degree, right? At least you know the difference between OT and PT. You know the difference between, this and that, so that when that
Mm-hmm.
person talks and that it then raises the red flag to you. But if you don't know, it all sounds the same. And that's how people prey on other parents, sadly,
Yeah.
They just show up and they say these things because those parents don't know and they're seeking help.
Mm-hmm.
They want to try everything. And there are people taking
Right.
advantage of that. So seek help, ask the right questions, and you find those answers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Someone sent a message to ask, Two questions. I'll ask the first. Well, no, going off of what you said, maybe go to the second question. She's asking what your perspectives are on ABA.
I love ABA. I do. I do. And I know it's a touchy subject right now. I've seen it on Facebook. I spend way too much time on Facebook, y'all. But um the thing is you just have to find the right therapist, right? And so like sometimes there's going to be therapists who in any field, like speech therapists, occupational therapists, physical therapy, ABA, there's going to be people who don't do their jobs right, just genuinely do not do their jobs right. There's going to be people who you have a personality clash with, and like it's nothing wrong with them or nothing wrong with you, it's just y'all don't get along and you don't mesh. So like move therapists. You know, if you
Mm,
feel like something is not right, then move. Like take your child out of that therapist or that therapist setting. And of course communicate with them first and be like, "Hey, I'm a little concerned with, like, I know a big thing that a lot of parents say about ABA is that their parents can't come back with them in the session." And so, like me as a speech therapist, if a parent wanted to come back, I'd be like, yeah, come look at
mm-hmm.
what we're doing so you can do it at the house.
At
Like
home. Mm-hmm.
I need you to see this. And then like sometimes we'll see like, hey, this helps. But like sometimes like I had one parent, the kid would just cry the entire time if the dad was there. So I mean that's when we're like, okay, maybe we'll start like phasing out. Um but but even then like the dad was participating in therapy, like I was like guiding the dad on what to do, like
Mm,
when they're at home and like this happens, you know. um but like yeah, just have that communication piece. Like if you're having any like concerns about what is going on in whatever therapy your child is getting, bring it up to the therapist and be like, can you explain to me like why this is or what's going on? Is there going to be a point where I can do XYZ? Or you know, ask him those questions, ask him those
mm,
questions. Because um and again, if you're ever like just completely uncomfortable with a therapist, take your child out, because
oh,
chances are your child is uncomfortable too. So take
mm,
them out.
I like that. So if you're
Hmm.
uncomfortable, take your child out.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think we also have that instinct, especially mom. Well, I believe, especially moms, you just sense it, and sometimes you can't even say why, right? And then years
Hmm.
down the line or months later, you figure out, oh, that's exactly what it was. So
Hmm.
I mean I agree with that, and I'm echoing that as well. If you're uncomfortable,
Hmm.
try a
Take them
conversation
out.
first. You still feel the same way, take them out.
Right.
Okay, so now we got so many questions. My gosh, gotta pull them up. Okay, someone they all sending me direct messages. Okay, that's why you can't see them, but I would share. So if someone's asking, do you need a child to be able to concentrate or sit still before you start benefiting from speech therapy?
No.
And then going back to, there's a myth that ABA creates robotic communication.
The what? The ABA creates robotic.
ABA creates communication.
Oh, okay. So the first question, the child has to sit still. No, I have done many a speech therapy sessions in like ball pits, um, outside on the playground, because like sometimes when a kid is moving around, that's when you're gonna get the best language from them, you know. And so I believe in like child led therapy. So it's like
Mm,
sometimes it looks like I'm like following the kid around and they're literally leading the therapy session, like literally. Um, and then I'll throw in my techniques like, oh, it's a ball, it's a big ball, like throw the ball. What do you want? Oh, you want the ball? I want ball. You know, like I'm following like what we're gonna play with, what we're gonna do, all that type of stuff. Um, I know what you're talking about with the ABA robotic therapy or robotic language. So um so what ABA does is they'll do cueing first to teach the kid like a skill, and then they slowly start fading out the cueing. Okay, so like when they fade out the cueing, so like they might say, oof, I should have brought an ABA therapist on here. They might say like, uh, bull, what's your name, Crystal? What's your name, Crystal? And so like the kid might say, what's your name, Crystal? What's your name, Crystal? And then like they have ways to like work on whenever the child is like will stop saying what's your name, they'll only say Crystal for their name. So like they'll start like slowly fading out the other prompts to help them become less robotic in their speech. But then also that's when the speech therapist and the BCBA have to get together and start working on it together.
Okay, I had to copy that question because I didn't want to mess up the thoughts on that. So someone's asking about retained primitive reflexes, and if there's a link to speech delay, especially when you tried everything, but it's still not moving along.
I'm not really sure what retained primitive reflexes are. Let's see, hold on, I'll look it up.
They've had 5 years of speech and 2 years of ABA, but it's still not moving along.
Oversensitivity. So okay, I get what you're saying. So like, okay, that makes sense. And they've done like
They've done ABA, they've done 5 years of ABA and speech, according to them. 5 years of speech and 2 years of ABA. But it's
and
not
it's not
everything's
moving
not working.
along. Oh, that's a hard one because like I don't want to tell you that it should be fixed by now, because like every kid has their own like journey, and like sometimes it can be like a short race and sometimes it can be a marathon. um but I would say keep up with the therapies. But I'll also say I learned this in COVID, during COVID, when y'all remember at the beginning of COVID when like you would have to do the stacked quarantine. So like if I got COVID, I would have to do 14 days. But if my mom was in the house, then she would have to start her quarantine at
Mm-hmm.
my 14th day and then go 14 days, but we were all still quarantined. Um, I learned during that time that when my kids would come back from quarantine, a lot of them would come back with better language. Don't know, like sometimes the breaks help. Like even in the schools, I dismissed like 20 kids from speech therapy this year. And it's because they came back from summer and I was like, what did you do in the summertime? They're like, I just played. I'm like, you did something, because like now you're knocking all these milestones out, like all these goals, like why are you in speech? Dismissed. But like maybe it could be that they're needing a little bit of a break, and to just it could be like the summer months, or like um I have parents that whenever the schools are out, their kids don't come to therapy. I don't have a problem with that, because I'm like, they deserve a break. They deserve a break. Especially in ABA. They be in ABA, they work like grown people. Some of them are getting 40 hours a week of ABA. And I'm like, I get tired working 40 hours a week. And then sometimes they go to different therapists on the weekends. It's like they're constantly
On the
going.
go.
So
Mm.
that's a two-parter, like continue going to the therapy, but then also like consider maybe scaling back a little bit,
Mm.
just for a little bit of time. Yeah, and just see how that works. But I honestly don't think, because I'm looking at um the different primitive reflexes that could integrate, disappear, persistent later, and persistently. So like could include. I'm not really. I've never heard of it, but that doesn't mean that it's not a thing. But I've never really heard of like uh I've never really heard of it doing language delays, but on here it says other developmental delays. So that could be the language part. But yeah, but it says like poor impulse control, fidgeting, restlessness. Oh, has have they done like any like fidgets or any type of like weighted vest for the child? Because sometimes they might just be overstimulated because they're saying, I'm literally researching this
Said,
right
yep.
now. Okay.
She
Yeah.
said, I'm thinking the yeses to that question about doing the weighted vest. And yeah, yeah, they don't
Okay.
know that.
Uh, so it sounds like they need to find your OT and PT need to find like what will just work for kids. And sometimes it does take a while to figure out like what will work for the kid. Um yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That's a hard one. That's a
Okay.
hard one.
Yeah. And if you think of anything else, you can send to me and I'll get it to her. I
Okay.
have two final questions because I don't see anyone in the chat that I have. One of them is just, I mean, again, define what your recommendations are to be parents on how to have their kids at home. That'll be the
Mhm.
final one. But before that, I know I've seen on social media people selling some medication or some things to stimulate. I don't know. What's your thought?
Let's okay.
I've seen so
I was
many
gonna
things.
say this earlier. I was gonna say this earlier. Um, I am all for, the wellness, like doing things the natural way, right? Okay. Um, I believe in doing things the natural way when it comes to, cleaning out your stomach. Um, yeah, but that and like people are saying like if you take out all the iron in your child's diet, like I can't back that up. I have not seen research to back that up. I have not, like, one dad told me there's this one drug that's not FDA approved. I was like, stop right there. Like, I'm not backing up anything that's not FDA approved. Like, I'm just not.
Mhm.
um he's like, yeah, if you take it, then it'll make your child talk more. I was like, the only thing, like, I just have not seen any research on it. I haven't, and I know there's a lot of stuff out there, like little drops you can give your kid to make them talk more. It'll the iron, is it the no, it's the lead detox will make him talk more. I have not seen any data to support that. If you want to do it, by all means do it, but like, I think you should do it in addition to talking to a professional and getting like speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, maybe like any of that. I don't think that should be the end all be all. I did see a lady say it works for one of her kids, and I was like, yeah, but your kid might have just grown up. Like, how do we know that it's solely because
That.
of
Mm-hmm.
there's no studies on it, like, and people just keep on making more and more medications. And
Mm-hmm.
don't get me wrong, maybe the medications make the child's stomach feel better, and now the child doesn't have nearly as many behaviors, so they look cured. It cured their stomach, so they feel better, so they're gonna act better, like, the whole gluten causes autism. I don't believe gluten causes autism. I believe gluten causes behaviors in kids who are gluten intolerant. And then once you take it out and they start feeling better, they're not going to turn up. You know, I mean, there's so many things that it could be, and there's not any research to support it. So I in turn don't support it. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. If it's not backed by research and scientific, hmm, people say a lot of things that make claims. I understand the desperation though. You're just trying to find a solution and
Right,
help your
right.
kid. Pretty much. But in the midst of that, be careful what you
Mm-hmm.
subscribe to, what you sign up for. And I mean, I agree with Crystal. Don't leave out therapy and leave out this because you're doing that one thing. I think maybe a more collaboration from all therapists involved and a lot more of all the skills will come to fore. You're benefiting and leaning on everybody. That would be
Mm-hmm.
great. So, what is your suggestion to parents on how they can help their kids at home? And then any final thoughts? This is
I
2:58.
would say the best way is talk to your kids whenever you can, have conversations with them at the dinner table. I know where everybody's on a phone every now and again, everybody's watching a screen, but whenever you can, talk to your kids. Like, even
In
if
full
it's
sentences.
in full sentences, even if you have a child that's like, I don't know, 2 weeks old, like, be like, oh, we're gonna go to the doctor now. Oh, we gotta get in the car. Like, explain what you're doing, you know? Um, and you'd be surprised how many other kids, because when I met my friend's daughter, she was like 4 weeks old, and the child was literally getting offended when I wasn't like looking at her and talking to her. And so, like, I was talking to her mom, like, oh my God, so like, I went to this new restaurant today, and looking at the child, and it was so good. Like, I had this, and like, the child, like, if I ever looked away and wasn't talking to her, she's like, ah, like, trying to get my attention.
Oh,
And so you want to create those environments where your kid wants to communicate with you. So, like, always, always, always talking to your kid. If y'all are riding somewhere, like, play the I Spy game. I spy something that's green, or I see a card that's blue. Like, just adding in those linguistic, like, times for your kids to talk to you. Asking them, like, what did you learn at school today? It might be nothing, and then you'd be like, how did you not learn anything today? Or what was your favorite thing at school? How did you use your hands today? Just asking them questions other than yes and no questions, so that they can, like,
hmm,
truly, like, work on those communication skills.
that's good. And I know that was something else that I read about not using baby talk.
Mhm. You can use baby talk. It helps the babies, like, separate what's going on. But I've noticed when I use baby talk, the babies, I mean, they always look at me crazy. And I don't know if it's the babies that, I don't know. But when I try to do it, like, even here at the church, I'll just be like, hey, y'all, like, let's chill out. We gotta chill out. Let's chill out. But sometimes they like it. It depends on the baby. Sometimes they like it. Sometimes they're like, what are you doing?
Why are
So
you doing
yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. And I know I don't want to go into the church and support from outside because, both of us are on the same team. We know that as much as possible, wherever you are, seek help for your kids. So if you're in a church that doesn't have that support, you might want to look around and just make
Mhm.
sure that everybody's helping you towards the same goal, right? Church
Yeah.
is contributing towards it. Because I'm tired of seeing people go to church or wherever they're going and the kid has to sit on the screen because they're not being engaged. And that's
Hmm.
what some people's reality is if they can't get those supports wherever they go.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much, Miss Crystal, for joining us
Yes.
today. I'll share that link on our Instagram handle as well and with emails going out. Yeah. Is there any other
Yes.
resource,
Yes.
whatever resource you want to share, feel free to send to me and we'll get to them. Any final thoughts, questions from anybody? Someone said thank you so much. Yep, yep, yep.
Thank y'all for
That-
having me. I have
Thank
thoroughly
you for
enjoyed this. Uh-oh.
thank you for being here. What happened?
Yes. That was you talking, but I was talking at the same time. That's all. I was saying thank you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 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 Okay. All right. Thank you so much. And we're about to wrap up and we're talking about our next edition will be again the first Saturday in June, which happens to be June 7th. That's what the year just seems to be running, right? But again, feel
Yes.
free to join us then. This month is also mental health awareness. So the plan is to have someone talk about mental health and how to support our kids, especially with these ideas of bullying in schools and providing that support for kids. So if you're available on that Saturday, please feel free to join and invite someone. Thank you for taking out of your time today to be with us, and we hope to see you next time.